What if the worst-case scenario you fear actually happened? How would you respond? It's not a question we like to dwell on, but it's one the ancient Stoics believed was essential to ask. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most renowned Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the heart of Stoic visualization, a practice that doesn't just prepare us for the worst, but empowers us to face it with clarity, calm, and resilience. In today's fast-paced, unpredictable world, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the weight of uncertainty. But what if there was a way to turn that uncertainty into a source of strength? That's exactly what we're going to explore in this video. We'll dive into how Stoic visualization works, why it's so effective, and how you can use it to not only prepare for life's challenges but to thrive in the face of them. Whether you're dealing with personal setbacks, professional pressures, or the chaos of everyday life, this ancient practice offers timeless tools for mental resilience. So, if you've ever felt paralyzed by fear of the unknown or found yourself spiraling into worst-case scenarios, this is for you. Together, we'll uncover how Stoic visualization can help you approach adversity with a steady mind and an unshakable sense of purpose. Let's begin. Stoic visualization is not about pessimism but about preparedness. At its core, it's a mental exercise rooted in ancient Stoic philosophy, designed to help us anticipate challenges and prepare ourselves emotionally for whatever life throws our way. Think of it as a way to rehearse life's difficulties in your mind, so when they arrive, you're not caught off guard. This practice doesn't dwell on fear or negativity. It's about building resilience and clarity by focusing on what we can control. The Stoics believed that much of our suffering comes from being unprepared for adversity. By visualizing potential setbacks, we train our minds to respond calmly and rationally, rather than reacting impulsively out of fear or frustration. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, put it this way: "The wise man thinks about what might happen, not with fear but with preparation." This idea of premeditation is central to Stoic visualization. It's not about expecting the worst to happen, but about being ready if it does. Take, for example, how athletes or military personnel use visualization techniques. A runner might mentally rehearse every step of a race, imagining how they'll handle fatigue or a sudden cramp. A soldier might visualize navigating a high-stress scenario, anticipating obstacles and planning their response. These practices aren't rooted in fear, they're tools for building confidence and adaptability. Stoic visualization works similarly, but it extends beyond physical challenges to include emotional and mental ones as well. So how does this apply to everyday life? Consider a recent challenge you faced, maybe a tough conversation, a missed deadline, or an unexpected change in plans. How did you respond in the moment? Now, imagine if you had taken a few moments beforehand to visualize that scenario. How might you have approached it differently? Would you have felt more grounded, more in control? This is the power of Stoic visualization. It gives us the space to prepare, to reflect, and to respond with intention rather than reacting out of habit or emotion. By practicing this mental exercise, we align ourselves with the Stoic principle of focusing on what's within our control. It's not about predicting the future or trying to avoid hardship. It's about equipping ourselves to face it with strength and clarity. And the more we practice, the more natural it becomes to approach life's challenges with a calm, steady mindset. What if you could stop worrying about things outside your control? This is the essence of the Stoic dichotomy of control, a principle that can transform how you approach challenges and uncertainties. At its core, this idea teaches us to focus our energy on what we can influence while letting go of what lies beyond our reach. It's not about ignoring the world around us, but about recognizing where our power truly lies. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most influential thinkers, put it simply, some things are within our power while others are not. He urged us to distinguish between what's internal, our thoughts, actions, and choices, and what's external, like the opinions of others or the outcome of events. When we can clearly separate these two, we free ourselves from unnecessary stress and anxiety. Let's bring this to life with a practical example. Imagine you're preparing for a job interview. You might feel anxious about whether the hiring manager will like you or if another candidate will outperform you. But here's the thing, those outcomes are outside your control. What you can control is how well you prepare, researching the company, practicing your responses, and presenting yourself confidently. By focusing on what's within your power, you not only improve your chances but also reduce the mental burden of worrying about the unknown. Now take a moment to reflect on your own life. What are 3 things you can control right now? Maybe it's how you spend your time, the effort you put into a project, or even the way you respond to a difficult situation. And what about 3 things you can't control? Perhaps it's the weather, traffic, or someone else's opinion of you. Writing these down can help you see where to direct your energy and where to practice letting go. This isn't just a theoretical exercise, it's a tool for building resilience. When you train your mind to focus on what's within your control, you start to feel more grounded, even in the face of uncertainty. And that's where Stoic visualization comes in. By mentally preparing for challenges and focusing on your responses, you're not just preparing for the worst, you're empowering yourself to handle it with clarity and calm. Let's step back in time for a moment. In ancient Rome, Stoic philosophers like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius would often practice a powerful mental exercise called Premeditatio Malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This wasn't about dwelling on negativity or fostering pessimism, it was about preparing the mind for life's inevitable challenges. By imagining the worst-case scenarios, they believed they could reduce fear, build resilience, and ultimately find greater peace in the face of uncertainty. At its core, Premeditatio Malorum is a form of mental rehearsal. It's about asking yourself, what's the worst that could happen, and then walking through that scenario in your mind. For example, if you're worried about losing your job, you might visualize the steps you'd take to find new opportunities, adjust your lifestyle, or lean on your support network. The goal isn't to create anxiety, it's to strip away the fear of the unknown by confronting it head-on. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, put it this way: "He who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." By mentally preparing for adversity, we rob it of its ability to shock or overwhelm us. Instead of being caught off guard, we're ready to face challenges with clarity and calm. Here's how this might look in a modern context. Let's say you're concerned about your financial stability. You could take a few moments to imagine losing your primary source of income. What steps would you take to cut expenses? How would you prioritize your bills? Who could you turn to for advice or support? By visualizing these details, you're not only preparing yourself emotionally, but also creating a practical roadmap for navigating tough times. Now let's bring this closer to your own life. Take a moment to think about a situation that worries you, something that feels uncertain or intimidating. Close your eyes and imagine the worst-case outcome. Then ask yourself, how would I respond? What resources or strengths do I have to handle this? What steps could I take to mitigate the impact? This exercise isn't about feeding fear, it's about empowering yourself to face life's uncertainties with confidence and resilience. By practicing Premeditatio Malorum, you're not just preparing for the worst, you're cultivating a mindset that allows you to appreciate what you have, adapt to challenges, and move forward with purpose. It's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, you have the tools to endure and thrive. Resilience isn't about avoiding pain, but learning to endure it. This is a core principle of Stoicism, and it's where visualization becomes a powerful tool for building emotional resilience. When we practice Stoic visualization, we're not trying to escape reality or pretend that life will always be easy. Instead, we're preparing ourselves to face challenges head-on, reducing the shock and emotional turmoil that often comes with unexpected events. By mentally rehearsing difficult scenarios, we train our minds to remain steady, even when life throws us off balance. Think of it like this: if you've ever practiced a sport or a skill, you know that repetition builds confidence. The more you prepare, the less likely you are to panic when the pressure is on. Stoic visualization works in a similar way. It's not about dwelling on negativity, but about creating a mental framework that allows us to respond to adversity with clarity and composure. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that the obstacles we fear or dread can actually become the very things that strengthen us if we approach them with the right mindset. To bring this to life, consider the story of a woman who lost her job unexpectedly. Instead of allowing herself to spiral into despair, she used Stoic visualization to prepare for the worst-case scenarios. She imagined what life might look like if she couldn't find work right away, how she would manage her finances, and how she would stay motivated during the job search. By the time the layoff actually happened, she had already worked through the emotional shock in her mind. She wasn't happy about the situation, of course, but she was able to face it with a sense of calm and determination that helped her navigate the difficult period with grace. Now take a moment to reflect on your own life. Can you think of a time when you faced a sudden challenge or disappointment? How did you respond in the moment? Looking back, could you have approached it with more resilience? Stoic visualization invites us to ask these kinds of questions, not to dwell on the past, but to better prepare for the future. By training your mind to anticipate and endure hardship, you're not just building emotional resilience, you're cultivating a mindset that can turn obstacles into opportunities. What if you could care less about the results and more about your effort? This is where Stoic visualization takes a profound turn. It's not just about preparing for the worst, but also about letting go of your attachment to outcomes. The Stoics believed that true freedom comes from focusing on what you can control, your actions, your effort, your mindset, while accepting that external results are often beyond your influence. Detachment doesn't mean indifference, it means shifting your energy toward what truly matters. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it this way: "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This idea extends beyond material wealth. It's about releasing the grip on outcomes, whether it's a promotion, a relationship, or even the success of a project. When you visualize failure or hardship, you're not just preparing emotionally, you're also training yourself to focus on your character and effort, rather than being consumed by the fear of losing something external. Take, for example, a business owner who visualizes their company failing. At first, this might seem counterintuitive. Why dwell on something so negative? But through this exercise, they begin to see that even if their business collapses, their integrity, work ethic, and ability to adapt remain intact. This detachment from the outcome allows them to focus on doing their best work every day, rather than obsessing over whether their efforts will pay off. It's a subtle but powerful shift, one that can transform how you approach challenges. So, how might detachment change your approach to a current goal? Imagine you're working towards something important, like starting a new career or repairing a strained relationship. What if, instead of fixating on the end result, you poured your energy into showing up fully, doing your best, and letting go of the need for a specific outcome? This mindset doesn't guarantee success, but it does guarantee peace of mind, and that's where Stoic visualization becomes a true tool for resilience. Sometimes, imagining loss helps us appreciate what we already possess. It might seem counterintuitive at first, but this practice is deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believed that by confronting the possibility of losing what we hold dear, we can develop a profound sense of gratitude for the present moment. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most renowned Stoic thinkers, once wrote, "Do not act as if you had 10,000 years to live. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." This quote reminds us that life is fleeting, and by acknowledging its impermanence, we can cultivate a deeper appreciation for what we have right now. Let's take this idea a step further with a practical example. Imagine someone who has grown accustomed to the presence of a loved one, a partner, a parent, or a close friend. They might start to take that relationship for granted, assuming it will always be there. But what if they took a moment to visualize life without that person? How would their daily routines change? How would their emotions shift? This exercise isn't meant to dwell on sadness, but to awaken a sense of gratitude for the bond they share. Suddenly, the small annoyances or disagreements seem trivial compared to the value of that connection. This kind of visualization isn't limited to relationships. It can apply to anything we might take for granted: our health, our home, or even the simple pleasures of a quiet morning. By imagining their absence, we can rediscover their importance in our lives. It's a way of training our minds to focus on what truly matters, rather than getting caught up in the noise of daily frustrations. Now, let's put this into practice. Take a moment to think about 3 things you're grateful for. It could be anything, big or small. Once you've identified them, close your eyes and picture your life without them. How would you feel? What would change? This exercise isn't about dwelling on loss, but about creating a space where gratitude can flourish. By doing this regularly, you'll find yourself more present, more appreciative, and more grounded in the richness of your own life. This Stoic practice isn't just about preparing for the worst, it's about learning to cherish the best of what we already have, and that in itself is a powerful way to live. What if every obstacle you faced was actually a chance to become stronger, wiser, and more resilient? This is the heart of Stoic visualization, a tool that doesn't just prepare us for the worst but shifts how we see challenges altogether. Instead of viewing setbacks as threats, Stoicism teaches us to reframe them as opportunities for growth. It's not about ignoring the difficulty. It's about recognizing that within every challenge lies the potential to build character, learn, and ultimately thrive. Seneca, one of Stoicism's greatest thinkers, put it this way: "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." Think about that for a moment. Just as lifting weights builds physical strength, facing adversity builds mental and emotional resilience. When we visualize challenges ahead of time, we're not just bracing for impact, we're training ourselves to see those moments as opportunities to grow. This shift in perspective can dramatically reduce fear and anxiety, replacing them with a sense of purpose and motivation. Take the story of an entrepreneur who faced a major business failure. Instead of letting the setback define him, he used Stoic visualization to mentally prepare for the possibility of failure long before it happened. When the worst-case scenario became reality, he didn't see it as the end of his journey. Instead, he saw it as a chance to learn, adapt, and come back stronger. He used the experience to refine his approach, and today, his business is thriving in ways it never could have without that initial failure. So, what about you? What's a challenge you're facing right now that feels overwhelming or insurmountable? Could you reframe it as an opportunity for growth? Maybe it's a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, a project that feels too big, or a personal goal that seems out of reach. By shifting your perspective, even just a little, you can transform fear into fuel and obstacles into stepping stones. This is the power of Stoic visualization. It doesn't just prepare you for the worst, it helps you see the best in every situation. visualization isn't about escaping reality but engaging with it fully. At its core, Stoic visualization is a tool to ground us in the present moment, helping us confront life's challenges with clarity and calm. The Stoics understood that the mind often wanders, drifting into worries about the future or regrets about the past. But by practicing visualization, we train ourselves to focus on what's directly in front of us, to see the world as it is, not as we fear it might become. Epictetus once said, "We should always be asking ourselves, is this something that is or is not in my control?" This question is a powerful reminder to anchor ourselves in the present. When we visualize potential difficulties, we're not indulging in fear or anxiety. Instead, we're preparing ourselves to respond with intention and presence, no matter what unfolds. It's about building mental resilience by staying rooted in the here and now, rather than being swept away by hypothetical scenarios. Consider the story of a firefighter who used Stoic visualization techniques during a high-stakes rescue operation. As flames roared and chaos surrounded him, he didn't let panic take over. Instead, he paused for a moment, visualized the steps he needed to take, and focused entirely on the task at hand. This ability to stay present, to act with purpose even in the face of danger, is what Stoic visualization aims to cultivate. It's not about avoiding fear, it's about meeting it head-on, fully aware and fully present. So how can you practice this in your own life? Start small. Take 5 minutes today to sit quietly, close your eyes and focus on your breath. Notice the sensations in your body, the sounds around you, the rhythm of your thoughts. If your mind starts to wander, gently bring it back to the present moment. This simple exercise isn't just about relaxation. It's about training your mind to stay grounded, no matter what challenges you face. Presence is the foundation of resilience, and visualization is the tool that helps us build it. What if you could face your fears with confidence instead of dread? That's the power of Stoic visualization, a tool that doesn't just prepare you for the unknown but actively reduces the grip of fear. When we anticipate the worst and mentally rehearse how we'd handle it, something remarkable happens. The unknown becomes less intimidating. Preparation, in this sense, is like shining a light into the darkness. The shadows of fear shrink when we step forward with a plan. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Think about that for a moment. How much of our fear is rooted in the stories we tell ourselves about what might happen? Visualization helps us rewrite those stories. By imagining the worst-case scenario and our response to it, we strip fear of its power. It's not about dwelling on negativity. It's about empowering ourselves to act with clarity and courage, no matter what comes our way. Let's take a practical example. Imagine someone who's terrified of public speaking. Every time they're asked to present, their mind races with thoughts of stumbling over words or being judged by the audience. But what if, instead of avoiding the fear, they used Stoic visualization? They could sit down and vividly picture themselves walking onto the stage, feeling nervous but steady. They'd imagine taking a deep breath, speaking clearly, and even handling a tough question with grace. Over time, this mental rehearsal builds confidence. When the moment arrives, they're no longer paralyzed by fear, they're prepared. Now it's your turn. What's one fear that holds you back? Maybe it's a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, a career risk you're hesitant to take, or even a personal challenge that feels overwhelming. Take a moment to visualize yourself facing it. Picture the scenario in detail, the setting, the emotions, the obstacles, but don't stop there. See yourself responding with calm and resilience. What would it feel like to walk through that fear and come out stronger on the other side? This isn't just an exercise, it's a way of reclaiming your power. When you prepare for the worst, you're not creating fear, you're dismantling it, and that's where true courage begins. Acceptance isn't about giving up, but about finding peace with reality. This is a core principle of Stoic philosophy, and it's deeply intertwined with the practice of visualization. When we visualize potential challenges or hardships, we're not just preparing for them, we're also learning to accept them as part of life's natural order. The Stoics believed that resistance to what we cannot change only leads to suffering, while acceptance brings clarity and calm. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart." This perspective reminds us that acceptance isn't passive. It's an active choice to align ourselves with reality rather than fight against it. Consider the story of a woman diagnosed with a chronic illness. At first, she struggled with anger and denial, resisting the reality of her condition. But through Stoic visualization, she began to imagine her life not as it was before, but as it could be moving forward. She visualized herself managing her symptoms with grace, finding joy in small moments, and building resilience day by day. Over time, this practice helped her accept her new reality, not as a defeat, but as an opportunity to cultivate strength and gratitude. Her story illustrates how visualization can serve as a bridge to acceptance, helping us reframe our challenges and find meaning in them. So, what's something in your life that feels difficult to accept right now? Maybe it's a personal setback, a relationship challenge, or an external circumstance beyond your control. Take a moment to reflect on how visualization might help you approach it differently. What would it look like to fully accept this situation, not as a burden, but as a part of your journey? By embracing this Stoic mindset, you can transform your struggles into opportunities for growth and inner peace. What if your preparation for adversity could make you a better person? This is where Stoic visualization and virtue intersect in a powerful way. When we visualize challenging scenarios, we're not just preparing for potential hardships, we're also training ourselves to act with wisdom, courage, and justice, even in the toughest moments. These virtues are at the heart of Stoic philosophy, and visualization becomes a tool to embody them in our daily lives. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." This idea captures the essence of Stoic visualization perfectly. By imagining how we want to respond to difficulties, we're aligning our actions with the person we aspire to be. It's not just about surviving challenges, it's about thriving as a virtuous individual, someone who acts with integrity and purpose no matter the circumstances. Let's take a real-world example. Imagine a leader facing a moral dilemma at work. They might be tempted to cut corners or make a selfish decision to avoid short-term consequences. But if they've practiced Stoic visualization, they've already walked through this scenario in their mind. They've considered how to act justly, how to show courage in standing by their principles, and how to make wise choices that benefit everyone involved. This preparation doesn't just help them navigate the situation, it helps them grow as a person, strengthening their character in the process. Now think about your own life. When you face challenges, do your actions reflect the virtues of wisdom, courage, and justice? Stoic visualization isn't just about preparing for the worst, it's about preparing to be your best self, even when things get tough. Take a moment to reflect on how you can use this practice to align your actions with the virtues you value most. What kind of person do you want to be when adversity strikes? Repetition turns preparation into instinct. When you engage in Stoic visualization consistently, you're not just imagining scenarios, you're training your mind to respond with clarity and calm when those moments arise. Think of it like building a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger and more automatic your responses become. This is why Stoics placed such a high value on daily reflection and mental rehearsal. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you are capable of improving. The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach." In this case, you're both the teacher and the student, learning to navigate life's challenges by repeatedly imagining and preparing for them. Take, for example, someone facing a major career transition. Let's say they're moving to a new city for a job. Each morning, they spend a few minutes visualizing potential obstacles, adjusting to a new environment, meeting new colleagues, or dealing with unexpected setbacks. Over time, this practice helps them feel more prepared and less anxious. When the actual move happens, they're not caught off guard by the challenges because their mind has already rehearsed the possibilities. This is the power of repetition in action. It transforms what could feel overwhelming into something manageable. Now, here's where you come in. What if you committed to practicing Stoic visualization for just 1 week? Start small. Each day, take 5 minutes to visualize a situation that might challenge you. It could be a difficult conversation, a presentation at work, or even a personal goal you're striving toward. The key is to do it consistently. Over time, you'll notice how this practice builds mental resilience, helping you approach life with a steadier hand and a clearer mind. Repetition isn't just about preparation, it's about creating a mindset that's ready for anything. What if preparation wasn't just about thinking but about doing? This is where Stoic visualization truly shines. It's not just a mental exercise to help us brace for the worst. It's a tool that propels us into meaningful action. The Stoics believed that imagining potential challenges wasn't enough on its own. The real power lies in using those mental rehearsals to guide our next steps. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be one." In other words, thinking about what could happen is only the first step. What matters most is what we do with that awareness. Let's break this down with a practical example. Imagine someone preparing to pitch an idea to a tough audience. They might visualize the worst-case scenarios. Maybe the audience is skeptical, or perhaps they ask difficult questions. But here's the key. After visualizing these challenges, they don't stop there. They use that mental rehearsal to prepare their responses, refine their pitch, and practice delivering it with confidence. The visualization becomes a springboard for action, not just a safety net. This balance between preparation and action is what makes Stoic thinking so effective. It's not about dwelling on what could go wrong. It's about using that foresight to build resilience and take steps forward. Think about this in your own life. What's one challenge you're facing right now? How could you use visualization not just to prepare for it, but to take concrete action toward overcoming it? Maybe it's starting a difficult conversation, tackling a project you've been putting off, or even just committing to a small daily habit that builds momentum. The Stoics remind us that life is about movement, not stagnation. Visualization gives us clarity, but it's the actions we take that truly shape our lives. So, what's one step you can take today to turn your preparation into progress? It doesn't have to be monumental. Sometimes the smallest actions are the ones that lead to the biggest changes. We don't have to face challenges alone. In fact, one of the most powerful tools we have for building resilience and preparing for life's difficulties is the support of a community. When we share our visualizations with others, we open the door to deeper understanding, shared strength, and collective wisdom. This isn't just about venting or seeking comfort. It's about creating a space where we can refine our thoughts, gain new perspectives, and fortify our resolve. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca once wrote, "Friendship always benefits, love sometimes injures." What he meant was that genuine friendship, rooted in trust and mutual growth, can help us navigate life's storms without losing sight of our values. When we bring others into our practice of visualization, we're not just sharing our fears or hopes. We're inviting them to help us see more clearly, to challenge our assumptions, and to remind us of our inner strength when we might forget it. Let me give you an example. Imagine a group of athletes training for a major competition. Individually, they might visualize their performance, picturing every move, every obstacle, and every triumph. But when they come together to share these visualizations, something extraordinary happens. They start to see patterns, common fears, shared goals, and collective strategies for overcoming challenges. This shared process doesn't just strengthen their individual resolve, it builds a sense of unity and purpose that carries them forward as a team. So how can you apply this in your own life? Start by finding a trusted friend or a supportive community where you feel safe sharing your thoughts. Talk about your visualizations, what you're preparing for, what worries you, and what you hope to achieve. You might be surprised at how much clarity and strength you gain from simply voicing these things out loud. And don't forget to listen too. Often, the act of sharing creates a reciprocal exchange of ideas and encouragement that benefits everyone involved. This isn't just about getting through tough times, it's about growing through them. When we lean on each other, we don't just survive adversity, we thrive in spite of it. So take a moment to reflect. Who in your life could you trust with your thoughts and fears? How might sharing your visualizations with them help you both grow stronger together? What if you could laugh at your fears instead of fearing them? It might sound counterintuitive, but humor can be a powerful tool when it comes to visualizing worst-case scenarios. Think about it. When you're able to inject a bit of levity into your thoughts, it takes the edge off. Instead of feeling weighed down by the gravity of what could go wrong, humor helps you approach the situation with a lighter heart and a clearer mind. This doesn't mean ignoring the seriousness of life, but rather finding a way to navigate tough moments without letting them consume you. The Stoics understood this balance well. Epictetus once said, "Remember that you are an actor in a play, which is as the playwright wants it to be, short if he wants it short, long if he wants it long." If he wants you to play a beggar, play even this part skillfully, as does the actor, and so for a cripple, a public official, or a private citizen. For this is your business to play admirably the role assigned you, but selecting it belongs to another. There's a subtle humor in this perspective. Life is a play, and sometimes the roles we're given can feel absurd. By not taking ourselves too seriously, we can find a sense of ease even in the face of adversity. Take, for example, someone preparing for a public speaking event. The worst-case scenario might be forgetting their lines or stumbling over their words. Instead of dwelling on the fear of embarrassment, they might visualize the audience laughing with them, not at them, turning a potential disaster into a moment of connection. Humor shifts the narrative from one of dread to one of resilience. It reframes the challenge as something manageable, even human. So, here's a question for you. What's a current challenge you're facing, and how could you add a touch of humor to it? Maybe it's imagining the most ridiculous version of the worst-case scenario, or simply laughing at the unpredictability of life. By finding humor in the chaos, you're not dismissing the difficulty. You're equipping yourself to face it with courage and a smile. And that, in itself, is a Stoic act of strength. Nature reminds us of the impermanence of all things, the changing seasons, the falling leaves, the relentless flow of rivers. All of it serves as a quiet yet profound teacher. For Stoics, this connection to nature isn't just poetic, it's deeply practical. The natural world mirrors the Stoic principle that change is inevitable, and acceptance of this truth is key to cultivating resilience. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Observe the movements of the stars as if you were running their courses with them, and let your mind constantly dwell on the changes of the elements into one another." Such imaginings wash away the filth of life on the ground. What he's pointing to here is the power of nature to recalibrate our perspective, to remind us that we are part of something much larger than our individual struggles. But how does this tie into visualization? When we practice Stoic visualization, imagining the worst-case scenarios to prepare ourselves emotionally and mentally, nature offers a grounding framework. It teaches us to see challenges as part of a natural cycle, not as personal affronts or insurmountable obstacles. For example, think of a tree weathering a storm. It doesn't resist the wind, it bends, adapts, and often emerges stronger. This is what we aim for in our own lives: flexibility in the face of adversity, rooted in an understanding that life, like nature, is ever-changing. Consider the story of Sarah, a woman who struggled with anxiety about her career. Every day she felt overwhelmed by the uncertainty of her future. Then she started taking regular walks in the woods. As she walked, she began to visualize her fears as falling leaves, drifting to the ground and becoming part of the soil, transformed, not destroyed. Over time, this practice helped her reframe her anxiety. She saw her challenges not as permanent failures but as opportunities for growth, much like the cycle of decay and renewal she witnessed in nature. So, what can you take from this? Try spending time in nature, whether it's a park, a beach, or even your backyard. As you do, reflect on its lessons. How does the natural world remind you of impermanence? How can you apply its rhythms to your own life? Let the stillness of a forest or the vastness of the ocean guide your visualization practice, helping you embrace change with the same grace and resilience as the world around you. Nature, after all, doesn't resist, it simply is. And perhaps in that simplicity, we can find the clarity we need to face whatever comes our way. What if writing down your fears could make them less powerful? This is where journaling comes into play, serving as a powerful tool to deepen your practice of Stoic visualization. By putting your thoughts on paper, you're not just passively imagining potential challenges, you're actively engaging with them. Journaling allows you to break down complex emotions, fears, or uncertainties into manageable pieces, making them easier to confront and prepare for. It's like holding up a mirror to your mind, revealing patterns and insights that might otherwise stay hidden. Seneca once wrote, "We should every night call ourselves to an account. What infirmity have I mastered today? What passions opposed? What temptation resisted? What virtue acquired?" This act of self-reflection, of writing down your experiences and thoughts, isn't just about recording events, it's about understanding them. When you journal, you're not just preparing for the worst, you're building a clearer, more resilient mindset. You're training yourself to see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than threats. Let's take a practical example. Imagine someone who's nervous about having a difficult conversation with their boss. Instead of letting anxiety build up, they sit down with their journal and write out what they're afraid might happen. They explore the worst-case scenarios, but they also map out how they'd respond with calm and reason. By the time the conversation rolls around, they've already walked through the situation in their mind, and they feel more prepared and less overwhelmed. Journaling didn't just help them visualize, it helped them strategize and regain control. Now, here's something to think about. What's a challenge you're currently facing? Take a moment to grab a notebook or open a blank page on your device. Write down what's troubling you and then explore how you might approach it with Stoic principles in mind. What's the worst that could happen, and more importantly, how could you turn that into a moment of strength or learning? Journaling isn't just about preparation, it's about transformation. And with each word you write, you're taking one step closer to mastering the art of Stoic visualization. In silence, we find the space to truly prepare. It's in these quiet moments that our minds can settle, allowing us to focus deeply on the challenges ahead and how we might respond to them. Stoic visualization isn't just about imagining scenarios, it's about creating a mental environment where clarity can thrive. And often, that clarity comes when we step away from the noise of the world and turn inward. Epictetus once said, "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig." If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen. In the same way, cultivating the ability to visualize effectively requires patience and stillness. It's in the quiet that we allow our thoughts to blossom, take shape, and grow into something meaningful. Consider the story of Marcus, a modern-day Stoic practitioner who struggled with anxiety about public speaking. Instead of rehearsing in a noisy, distracting environment, Marcus began practicing in complete silence. He would sit alone, close his eyes, and vividly imagine himself standing in front of an audience. In this quiet space, he could focus entirely on his breathing, his posture, and the way he wanted to deliver his words. Over time, this practice not only calmed his nerves, but also gave him a sense of control and confidence that carried over into real-life situations. Silence, then, isn't just the absence of sound, it's a tool. It's a way to create a mental sanctuary where you can confront fears, rehearse responses, and build resilience. When you remove external distractions, you give yourself the opportunity to truly connect with your inner thoughts and emotions, which is where Stoic visualization becomes most powerful. So here's a challenge for you. Today, carve out just 5 minutes of silence. Find a quiet spot, close your eyes, and let your mind wander into the scenarios you've been preparing for. Whether it's a difficult conversation, a high-pressure situation, or simply the unpredictability of life, use this time to visualize your response with clarity and calm. Notice how the stillness allows you to think more deeply and feel more grounded. It's in these moments that you'll begin to see just how transformative silence can be. What if preparation became as natural as brushing your teeth? Imagine a world where preparing for challenges, setbacks, and uncertainties was just another part of your daily rhythm. That's the power of routine. It turns what feels like an extra effort into something automatic, something you do without even thinking about it. And when it comes to Stoic visualization, routine is your secret weapon for making it truly effective. Let's break this down. Visualization isn't just about imagining worst-case scenarios. It's about building mental resilience. But here's the thing. Resilience isn't something you summon on the spot. It's a muscle you strengthen over time through consistent practice, and that's where routine comes in. By weaving visualization into your daily habits, you create a foundation of consistency. It becomes less about reacting to life's uncertainties and more about being prepared for them, no matter what. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. What he's pointing to here is the importance of daily habits. It's not the grand gestures that shape your character or your ability to face challenges. It's the small, repeated actions you take every single day. Think about it. Brushing your teeth isn't a monumental task, but doing it consistently keeps your teeth healthy. Visualization works the same way. Now, let's bring this to life with an example. Imagine someone who starts their day with a 5-minute visualization exercise. They sit quietly, maybe with a cup of coffee, and mentally walk through potential challenges they might face that day. They picture themselves responding calmly, making thoughtful decisions, and staying grounded no matter what happens. Over time, this practice becomes second nature. They're not just preparing for the day ahead, they're training their mind to handle whatever comes their way with clarity and composure. So here's a question for you. Where could visualization fit into your daily routine? Maybe it's first thing in the morning, like in the example we just discussed. Or perhaps it's during your evening wind down, reflecting on the day and preparing for tomorrow. The key is to find a time that works for you, a moment when you can pause, reflect, and practice this powerful tool. By making visualization a regular part of your day, you're not just preparing for the worst, you're building a mindset that thrives in the face of challenges. And that's the true gift of routine. It turns preparation into a habit and habits into strength. Compassion reminds us that we're not alone in our struggles. It's a powerful force that not only connects us to others but also strengthens our own resilience. When we take the time to visualize the challenges others face, we begin to see the world through their eyes. This practice doesn't just deepen our empathy, it also prepares us to handle our own difficulties with greater understanding and grace. The Stoics understood this connection well. Seneca once wrote, "We are members of one great body planted by nature to help and support one another." This idea of interconnectedness is at the heart of compassionate visualization. By imagining the hardships of others, we remind ourselves that suffering is universal. It's not something we face in isolation, but a shared experience that binds humanity together. When we internalize this truth, we cultivate a sense of solidarity that can make our own burdens feel lighter. Let's take this idea a step further with a practical example. Imagine a close friend is going through a tough time. Perhaps they've lost a job or are dealing with a health issue. Instead of simply offering words of encouragement, you decide to sit quietly and visualize their struggles. Picture their daily routines, the worries they carry, and the emotions they might be feeling. This exercise isn't about pity, it's about understanding. By stepping into their shoes, even momentarily, you gain a clearer perspective on how to support them in meaningful ways. This kind of visualization doesn't just benefit the person you're imagining, it strengthens you too. When we practice empathy, we train our minds to approach challenges with a sense of connection rather than isolation. It's a reminder that resilience isn't just about enduring hardship, it's about finding strength in the relationships we nurture and the compassion we extend to others. Take a moment to reflect on this. Who in your life is facing a struggle right now? Close your eyes and visualize their experience. What emotions might they be feeling? What obstacles are they overcoming? And most importantly, how can you offer support that truly makes a difference? By practicing this kind of compassionate visualization, you not only deepen your empathy but also equip yourself to face life's challenges with a more open and resilient heart. What if less was more when it comes to preparation? It might sound counterintuitive, but when we strip away the noise and focus only on the essentials, our visualizations become sharper, clearer, and far more effective. This is where simplicity plays a crucial role in Stoic visualization. The Stoics believed that overcomplicating things often leads to confusion and paralysis, whereas simplicity brings clarity and strength. As Epictetus once said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This isn't just about material things, it's about how we approach our thoughts and preparations. When we simplify our mental rehearsals, we remove unnecessary distractions and focus on what truly matters. Think about it. When you're faced with a daunting challenge, your mind might race with countless what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. But what if, instead of trying to visualize every possible outcome, you narrowed it down to the one or two core elements that truly define the situation? For example, imagine a professional athlete preparing for a high-stakes competition. Instead of overwhelming themselves with thoughts about every possible mistake or obstacle, they might focus on just two things: their breathing and their form. By simplifying their mental preparation, they reduce overwhelm and channel their energy into what they can control. The same principle applies to everyday life. Let's say you're preparing for a difficult conversation. Instead of imagining every possible reaction or twist the discussion could take, you might boil it down to the core issue, what you want to communicate and how you'll stay calm. This simplification doesn't just make the task feel more manageable, it also empowers you to act with confidence and purpose. So here's a challenge for you. Take a current challenge you're facing and strip it down to its most basic elements. What's the one thing you need to focus on? What's the core of the situation that, if addressed, would make everything else fall into place? By simplifying your visualization, you might just find that preparation becomes less about fear and more about clarity and resolve. Patience allows us to prepare without rushing, and in Stoic visualization, this virtue becomes a cornerstone of enduring strength. Stoicism teaches us to embrace the present moment fully, not as a fleeting opportunity to act impulsively, but as a space to cultivate clarity and resilience. When we visualize potential challenges or worst-case scenarios, patience ensures that we don't rush through the process, skipping over the nuances that help us truly prepare. Instead, it invites us to sit with discomfort, examine our reactions, and build the mental fortitude needed to face whatever comes our way. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most profound voices, once wrote, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, because an artful life requires being prepared to meet and withstand sudden and unexpected attacks." This idea of preparedness isn't about quick fixes or immediate solutions. It's about enduring the process, even when it feels slow or uncertain. Patience, then, becomes the bridge between visualizing a challenge and actually overcoming it. It's the quiet strength that keeps us grounded, even when our instincts might push us to act hastily. Consider the story of a young entrepreneur who used Stoic visualization to navigate the grueling process of launching a startup. For months, she faced setbacks, funding fell through, partnerships dissolved, and progress seemed painfully slow. Instead of giving in to frustration, she practiced visualizing each obstacle as a test of her patience. She imagined herself calmly addressing delays, finding creative solutions, and staying committed to her vision, no matter how long it took. Over time, this practice not only helped her endure the challenges, but also allowed her to see them as opportunities for growth rather than roadblocks. Her patience became her greatest ally, transforming what could have been a stressful journey into a meaningful one. So, how can patience enhance your own preparation? Think about a situation in your life where you're eagerly waiting for something, whether it's a career milestone, a personal goal, or even a difficult conversation. What would it look like to approach that moment with patience, using visualization to stay steady and focused? How might that shift in perspective change the way you experience the process? Patience isn't just about waiting, it's about how we wait and how we use that time to prepare ourselves for whatever lies ahead. What if your preparation could help you thrive in uncertainty? This is the power of adaptability, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy and a natural extension of visualization. When we visualize potential challenges, we're not just preparing for specific outcomes, we're training our minds to remain flexible, no matter how circumstances shift. The Stoics understood that life is unpredictable, and clinging to rigid expectations only leads to frustration. Instead, they taught us to embrace change as an inevitable part of existence, and visualization is one of the most effective tools to cultivate this mindset. Take Seneca, for example. He once wrote, "Fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that change is unavoidable, but our response to it is entirely within our control. By visualizing different scenarios, we mentally rehearse how we might adapt, ensuring that we're not caught off guard when life takes an unexpected turn. It's like building a mental toolkit filled with strategies for resilience, allowing us to pivot gracefully when faced with adversity. Consider the story of a business owner who, during a sudden economic downturn, used Stoic visualization to navigate the crisis. Instead of panicking, she had already imagined various worst-case scenarios and prepared contingency plans. When the market shifted, she was able to adapt quickly, rethinking her business model and finding new opportunities amidst the chaos. Her ability to remain calm and resourceful didn't come from luck. It came from the deliberate practice of visualizing and preparing for uncertainty. Now think about your own life. How often do you find yourself resisting change, holding tightly to plans that no longer serve you? What if, instead of fearing the unknown, you could see it as an opportunity to grow? Visualizing different outcomes isn't about predicting the future. It's about building the mental agility to handle whatever comes your way. So ask yourself, how can you become more adaptable? What small steps can you take today to embrace change rather than resist it? By integrating this Stoic practice into your daily life, you'll not only prepare for the worst but also unlock the potential to thrive in any situation. Courage isn't the absence of fear but the willingness to act despite it. This is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, and it's especially relevant when we talk about visualization. Visualizing the worst-case scenarios isn't about feeding fear. It's about building the mental resilience to face those fears head-on. When we imagine the challenges ahead, whether it's a difficult conversation, a career setback, or even a personal loss, we're not just preparing for what might happen. We're also strengthening our resolve to act with integrity and bravery, no matter the circumstances. The Stoics believed that courage isn't something you're born with, it's something you cultivate through practice. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This idea is at the heart of Stoic visualization. By mentally rehearsing how we'll handle adversity, we're training ourselves to respond with clarity and strength rather than panic or despair. It's like building a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine someone who's terrified of public speaking. They might visualize standing on stage, feeling their heart race and hearing the silence of the audience. But instead of letting the fear overwhelm them, they picture themselves taking a deep breath, speaking clearly, and connecting with the crowd. Over time, this mental rehearsal helps them approach the situation with more confidence, not because the fear is gone, but because they've practiced facing it. That's the power of Stoic visualization. It turns fear into a tool for growth. So, what's one act of courage you can take today? Maybe it's having that tough conversation you've been avoiding, or stepping outside your comfort zone in a way that feels meaningful to you. Take a moment to visualize yourself doing it, not just the action, but the mindset you'll bring to it. How will you stay grounded? What values will guide you? By picturing yourself moving through the challenge with courage, you're already laying the groundwork for success. What if looking back could help you move forward? Reflection is one of the most powerful tools in the Stoic toolkit, especially when it comes to refining your visualization practice. When we take the time to look back on the mental exercises we've done, whether they were successful or not, we uncover insights that can shape how we approach future challenges. Seneca once said, "Examine yourself, root out whatever is troubling you and cast it from you." This idea of self-examination isn't just about identifying flaws. It's about learning, growing, and becoming more intentional with how we prepare for life's uncertainties. Think about it this way: every visualization is like a rehearsal for a moment you haven't yet faced. And just like an actor reviews their performance to improve, reflecting on your mental rehearsals helps you fine-tune your approach. Maybe you've visualized a difficult conversation with a colleague, but when the moment came, you found yourself overwhelmed by emotions you didn't anticipate. By reflecting on that experience, you can identify what went differently than expected and adjust your next visualization to include strategies for staying calm or redirecting the conversation. Over time, this process of reflection and adjustment makes your visualizations more precise and effective. Let's take a real-world example. Imagine someone who regularly visualizes public speaking scenarios. At first, they might focus solely on the content of their speech, but after reflecting on past experiences, they realize that their greatest challenge isn't remembering the words, it's managing their nerves. With that insight, they adapt their visualization practice to include techniques for grounding themselves, like deep breathing or focusing on a single supportive face in the audience. This small shift, born out of reflection, transforms their preparation and boosts their confidence. So, here's a question for you. Can you think of a time when you used visualization to prepare for something? What did you learn from that experience? Take a moment to reflect on it. What worked well? What could you do differently next time? By engaging in this kind of thoughtful examination, you're not just preparing for the future, you're actively shaping it. Reflection turns past efforts into stepping stones, helping you build a stronger, more resilient mindset for whatever lies ahead. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. It's a simple yet profound truth that Stoics have long understood, and it plays a powerful role in enhancing the practice of Stoic visualization. When we visualize potential challenges or worst-case scenarios, it's easy to become fixated on what we might lose or what could go wrong. But gratitude shifts our focus. It reminds us of what we already have, grounding us in the present and helping us see abundance even in the face of uncertainty. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This perspective is at the heart of gratitude. By appreciating the simple, often overlooked aspects of life, we build a foundation of resilience. Gratitude doesn't erase the challenges we might face, but it gives us a lens through which we can view them with greater clarity and calm. Consider the story of a man who lost his job unexpectedly. At first, he was consumed by fear and frustration, imagining the worst outcomes. But through the practice of Stoic visualization, he began to reframe his situation. He started by listing the things he was grateful for: his health, his family, and even the skills he had developed over the years. This shift in focus didn't solve his problems overnight, but it gave him the mental strength to approach his challenges with a sense of purpose rather than despair. Gratitude became his anchor, allowing him to see opportunities where others might only see obstacles. So, how can you incorporate gratitude into your own visualization practice? After each session, take a moment to reflect on 3 things you're grateful for. It could be as simple as a warm cup of coffee in the morning or the support of a loved one. This small habit can have a profound impact, helping you maintain a balanced perspective even as you prepare for life's uncertainties. Gratitude doesn't just enhance visualization, it transforms it, turning preparation into a practice of appreciation and growth. So, what does all of this mean for us? At its core, Stoic visualization isn't about dwelling on fear or negativity. It's about building resilience and clarity in the face of life's uncertainties. By practicing techniques like Premeditatio Malorum or the premeditation of evils, we train our minds to confront challenges head-on, not with dread but with a sense of calm preparedness. It's about asking ourselves, what's the worst that could happen? And then realizing that even in that worst-case scenario, we have the tools to endure, adapt, and thrive. But Stoicism doesn't stop at preparing for hardship. It also teaches us to cultivate gratitude for what we have in the present moment and to practice detachment from outcomes we can't control. These principles work together, creating a balanced mindset that's both grounded and flexible. Think of it like this: when you visualize the storms of life, you're not just preparing for the rain, you're also learning to appreciate the sunshine while it lasts. As Seneca once wrote, "The mind that is anxious about future events is miserable." Stoic visualization helps us break free from that anxiety by teaching us to focus on what we can control and let go of what we can't. It's a reminder that mental preparation isn't just a tool for survival, it's a path to living with greater purpose and peace. Now, here's where I'd like to turn it over to you. How can you apply Stoic visualization in your own life? Maybe it's taking a few moments each day to reflect on potential challenges, or practicing gratitude for the good things you often take for granted. Whatever it is, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, consider subscribing for more insights on Stoicism and practical philosophy. Together, let's keep building that resilience and clarity, one step at a time.